All right, amigos. And we'll sink with California when it falls into the sea. All right, let's see if I got some. Oh, big up, big up. Sorry about that. That's rude. Ah, that was rude. Sorry, my friends. All right, let's see if we had I had a. Hold on just a second. I had this emails. Hey, what's going on, Brett? All right. ¿Qué pasó? I put in a Q&A. Hold on just a second. I want to go over this email because it's. I gotta find this email for this guy sent me. Hold on just a second. Hold on just a second, folks. This is gonna tick you off because it ticks me off. I must have put in Q&A. All right, hold on. And we'll sink with California when it falls into the sea. All right, there we go. All right, right here. All right, cool. Probably won't be next week, Brett. It'll probably be 2 weeks after that. Next week, I'm occupied, if that makes sense. But it'll probably be 2 weeks. If that, I guess it'll be. Today's what, the 14th, 28th. Ooh, the last Wednesday before the election. Oh man, what's up, Tim? So we'll definitely do that for sure. It won't be unless maybe I can do one. A subscribe star one only on Saturday. So if you're interested, let me know. Maybe I'll put a thing out there. We can do one on Saturday. That might work. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, actually, let's do that on maybe Saturday. Hello, Nancy. I'll put an email out there to subscribe star. Brett is asking me just for. Well, I'll wait till we get a. Hey, Mark. Brett, remind me to kind of share the subscribe star stuff when I get a little bit more people on here, because I think it's well, to be honest, it's good. All right, so I want to read this by my man Corey. All right, so this is. All right, so Corey says he just found me and loves the videos. He's trying to determine if he can leave his COJ, his crappy old job, or if he needs to tough it out another couple years. He's having trouble sleeping at night. I'm constantly thinking about work, what has to be done, metrics, and he dreads logging into work every day. They continually throw more crap at him. We do contract work and are typically understaffed by 20% because they don't want anyone idle and the ebbs and flows in business. Hey, storage auction video. What's up, Vinyl? So basically, it says last year their company was ownership change. They make decent profits, but they've also laid off every year for many years. They typically inform us there's going to be a reallocation, a right sizing coming. I think they do this so people will voluntarily leave so they don't have to pay severance. I completely agree. I work from home, but find myself and my colleagues often working at night. He gets emails in the early morning, 3, 4 a.m. The pressure from his boss to do more is intense, and it's affecting his health. And he's irritable with his wife and his 2 youngins. He had a big eye opener this summer. He gets migraines 2 or 3 times a month, and he took a month off after saving up his vacation time, and not one migraine. He slept like a baby and lost 8 pounds. They tried hard to deny my vacation, but he's able to get it. All right. They're both in their late 40s. They got some children. They got $700,000 in taxable accounts with 80% allocated to stocks. Hey, Endo, 80% allocated stocks. They have a bunch of money in cash. They get a house that's worth $400,000 with no debt, and to include their home. They're only spending $30,000 a year, and the spending is reasonable moving forward. Between he makes about 100K a year. His wife makes 35. They're currently maxing out all avenues of their retirement plan at 5,000 a month because they don't spend that much. We add another 2,000 a month to the cash reserves. His wife enjoys her job and tends to keep it working. I presume healthcare would be through the wife. After taxes, healthcare, and her required pension contribution, we would come up about 300 to 400 short every month on her 35,000K paycheck. So we need to tap savings, or I have considered putting in half our cash in a Wellesley or Wellington. Our goal was for me to work another 2 to 3 years and retire with $1 million in our savings and our investment accounts. My wife would continue to work 5 years beyond my retirement. We would start Roth conversions these 5 years. What do you think? Am I in a position to leave their crappy old job? All right, so let's plot this out on this. Seldom Seen says they don't need advice. Rick says, been there, done that. Faisal Khan. Hey, what's up, Faisal? Faisal Khan. Carol, que paso? Dan, right on, right on. All right, so this guy's basically saying he's got, oh, wait a second. Pablo, hold on a second. I know where he's going. Where are you going, buddy? Hold on. Pablo. All right. Hold on a second. Come here. Pablo escaped downstairs, and I know what that meant because everyone's gone. And I know he's trying to go poopy down the basement, but he just took a big deuce. I don't understand. How many deuces can you take? He just took a big deuce. He's 13 pounds. He probably dropped 2 pounds just taking his big deuce, and now he's got to run down the basement and take another one. No way, Jose. We're not feeding. I mean, I know he's Pablo, and he rolls his R's like he's a perfect Spanish speaker, but we're not feeding him enchiladas or anything. Jeez Louise. All right. So now we got my man Corey. All right. And so Corey's got $700,000 in after-tax money, he said. I wonder if that's true, but that's what he said. Plus $120,000 in cash. He needs $5,000, basically, what do you say? $500 a month, I think is what he said. So he needs $6,000 a month, $6,000 a year. This is so, I mean, I just sit there and I wonder at the, not this guy. Yeah, better close that door, right? I wonder what is causing people to feel that they can't get by with their current situation. It's weird to me. So he's got $700,000. He's got 120 sitting in cash. If he needs 6,000 a year, we just take our trusty calculator and we say 120 divided by 6. That'll get him till he's 60 until he can file for Social Security without touching $700,000. I mean, look, I'm not mad at this guy. That would assume his wife continues to work, but it sounds like she likes it and she has a forced pension. So I imagine she's working for the government. But I mean, at the end of the day, you're freaking, if we just get, 7% for simplicity rate of return on the $700,000 in 20 years, by the time that 120 of cash is gone, that 700,000 is worth 2.8 million. Yeah, exactly right. Brian, at dividends of 3.5, you'd have 24K a year. Don't have to take any risk. Completely agree. I don't look, man. I'm not angry at this guy. I don't get why we're so afraid. I just sit there and say, yeah, dude. And like someone said here, he should. I think this guy Vino said he start his own business. I completely. I mean. Absolutely. Why? See, I can't tell you how many people I get there is freaking, they're miserable in the crappy old job. I was talking to a guy the other day, nice guy. He and his wife local here. And he reminds me of me a couple of years back. He's got a good job, but doesn't like it anymore. He's got a good job. He's been there for a long time, making good money, like $200,000 a year. He just doesn't like it. He said exactly what I had when I was at USAA. He said, if I have to have a job, this is the one I'd be happy for. But I don't like it. It doesn't get me fired up. I go and I do what I got to do. And, I get by, but I'm making good money. This is a good job, but it's not fulfilling. That's the way I was ultimately at USAA. And I told this guy, When I'm doing financial plans for people, I ask about their health because that's important. You got to figure out, like, if you're about to keel over, it's important to know. And he said that he needed to lose some weight. And I mean, I get it, man. And like my man Corey here lost 8 pounds when he was in a better place emotionally. And I find that happens a lot when people are in a job they don't like enjoy that much. They get resolved to the fact that they're putting on weight. They get resolved to the fact that they're just, I'll just keep riding this out until I'm, 60, until I got $1 million saved up, something like that. And it's just not good health wise. I mean, look, I told this guy what I was, because he was almost identical to me 3 to 4 years ago. I was 210. My triglycerides were through the roof. I could not get private life insurance without being underwritten as standard. And standard means you basically are a smoker, which means your rates are through the roof. And this guy, he didn't have any debt. And it's funny because I'm looking at the numbers. I'm like, dude, it's just funny. This guy's good to go. But anyway, he and his wife. And but he wants to get life insurance. And I said, I get it, dude. And long story short, he's not gonna be able to qualify for a good rate because he's overweight. I'm telling you, I don't smoke, I didn't drink or anything, but I was 210. And it wasn't that was before I was really heavy into weightlifting. I was working out, but not the extent when I got life insurance through Health IQ. I can get in that if you want. But anyway, the issue is that I went to underwriting through USAA. They underwritten me, and they gave me a standard rate, which is essentially like I was smoking cigarettes. And so my rate was higher than it was as a group life insurance, which is insane. And so anyway, I said, this is nuts. If I quit my crappy old job and I leave, I won't be able to afford this life insurance. We still got this debt on this big monstrosity of our house, which we enjoy. But I said, we still have this debt. And the problem is, if I die, Charlotte's going to be in a world of hurt. So I got to get better. I got to get a good life insurance policy before I leave USAA. And so for me, I had this mission to lose some weight, to be underwritten on a private policy where I'd get better life insurance. And that's exactly what happened. So I went on a very strict low carb diet. In about 3 or 4 months, I was down like 175. I looked kind of sickly. I was so thin, actually. I didn't like it. And so I went, anyway, long story short, I got underwritten. My triglycerides dropped. My HDL went high. My LDL went high too, because it was just eating eggs and bacon. I gave up all sweets, and it worked. And so I got underwritten at Health IQ. By this time, I was getting quite strong, actually. I was doing, until I freaking did my rotator cuff. I was getting pretty big, strong. And, so my BMI was high, but Health IQ, if you're an athlete in some regard, and trust me, I do not consider myself an athlete, but, I was pretty heavy into lifting heavy weights, deadlifts, squats. I think I was squatting 315 with I think 315. I think I was even getting tens on each side too. So whatever that is, 325, 335. Anyway, long story short, I was strong. Not like that anymore. Anyway, and so what happened was they Health IQ underwritten me because even though my BMI was high, they recognized that the BMI was high because I was strong, if that makes sense. I wasn't fat, I was strong. And my triglycerides were low and my HDL was high, and which is good. HDL is a good cholesterol. LDL is a bad cholesterol, but it's really not a big, LDL is not, there's nothing wrong with it. It used to be, you don't want high LDL. Now it doesn't really matter, but you do want high HDL, if that makes sense. Long story short, so I told this guy, I said, man, what's going to happen is if you give yourself like a year's time to get in shape, to lose some weight, you will give yourself a mission, and that mission is going to be to lose weight so you can get life insurance, so you can quit your crappy old job, and you're going to be fine, man. You're going to be fine without question. His wife works from home. His wife she likes her job, just like this guy here. I said, dude, then you can go wherever you want. You know what I'm saying? You go whatever you want to do. You stay here. If you want local, you can do whatever you want. But you have to have a mission. Your mission is to lose some weight, get a good underwritten so you can carry life insurance into, quote, retirement. Now, retiring isn't mean just sitting freaking pick your nose. Retirement means just quitting your crappy old job. And that's what I think a lot of people, they don't get. They say, I'm retiring. I said, no. You're just quitting crappy old job. Your employment is voluntary. You can now do what you want to do. And what you want to do might be out in the garden, might be doing YouTube videos, might be freaking, babysitting Pablo for me. He's sitting on my lap right now. I don't know what it is. I don't know. That's the issue, that a lot of people, especially guys who are making decent money, they've always said, I will think about that later, think about that later, think about that later. And at some point, you got to think about it, because later it's going to be too late. You'll be too, oops. One sec. What's up, girl? At some point, you're going to have to think about it. And so in this case, I'm like, dude, give yourself a year, get in shape, lose some weight, get underwritten on a private policy, Health IQ, whoever you use, USA, I don't care. And then once you have that life insurance secured, now you have a mission. You can say, okay, now, and I have FU money, I could leave if I want. So it's pretty interesting. All right. So, all right. So Nancy says she wished she would have found me earlier. Sorry, Nancy. I mean, better late than never, right? So Nancy says she wished she would have found Josh in his videos a few years ago, would have planned to retire earlier. Well, that's, but you're taking one for the team, Nancy, by telling other people that. Not so much about me, like, oh, Josh, you're the best. Hey, everybody. But it's more about that there is another way, if that makes sense. And what we've been told, just like my man Corey here, is it's all, all right. So let's see here. We got, all right. So my man Ricky, or something, Rick, I guess, says, so many people talk about delaying Social Security from 67 to 70 to maximize the payout. Help me understand, if you take it at 62, it takes approximately till you're 77 to recover the monies you receive by starting at 62. So you don't really catch up and you really get the higher income until then. That's true. Then why wait, he says. Even though the life expectancy is 85, 87, depending. All right. Okay. So he's basically saying, in the last 10 years of your life, do you really care or need the money versus enjoying it at 62? That's a good question. That's a good question. You're saying, look, man, I'm going to enjoy it while I'm young, because I might not need it back then, later on. So he's 55 years. Okay. He's his same thing. He's ready to pull the plug on the corporate world as well. The reason for that, frankly, Ricky, is that what happens is, if you're married like me, I want to leave my wife the max amount I can. So for me, I have to. I'm going to take it at 70 because it's 2 lives that I'm insuring. Social Security is an insurance program. So it's almost like a second to die life insurance. I've done videos on second to die. I'm not going to do, I think Amar and I did a video on that about a month ago. Not going to get into that here, but essentially you're insuring 2 lives. All right. So basically, when I die, I want Charlotte to get the maximum benefit possible, which will only be if I wait till I'm 70. Part 2 of that is that if you wait, and I was talking to people today, these guys are in Washington State. It's the same thing all over again. If you spend down your deferred accounts while you're allowing Social Security to grow, and you spend down, or you convert, or a combination thereof, in these cases, when these guys are 73, I think they have no taxes ever again. So they have, $100,000 of income. Hell, they'll have 60, 70,000 from Social Security. In today's numbers, none of it's taxable, none. If they need, 25,000, they pull it from the Roth IRA, all tax free. So we're talking $100,000 of income, all tax free. The counter to that is take Social Security early and allow your IRAs to grow, which means you're allowing the tax lien grow, and you're not getting an 8% guaranteed rate of return on your IRAs. You're not. On top of that, when you factor in cost of living adjustment, you're just not. Could you do better? Sure, absolutely. I don't think so. I mean, I use the Vanguard Capital Models market with VCMM, 6.5 on stocks. How do we get stocks? Well, it's easy. Stock rates of return, very simple. You take earnings growth year over year, you add dividend yield, and that gives you your expected rate of return. Earnings growth year over year plus dividend yield gives you your expected rate of return, your EROR. Earnings growth year over year, dividend yield, expected rate of return. And I have a 4.5% earnings growth plus 2% dividend yield, 6.5%. That's how we get a 6.5. So 4.5% dividend yield, earnings growth year over year, 2% dividend yield, 6.5 is our expected rate of return. And if you look historically, it's almost that to a freaking, it's like crazy how close that is. Now, 2018, earnings growth was through the roof and the markets were down. 2019 earnings growth was down and the markets were up. So it doesn't happen every single year that way. But actually, if you look at it, if you combine 2018 and 2019, it's almost identical to that same number, which is historically right. I mean, it's nuts how far back that equation works. It's just crazy. So 2018 earnings growth was up 30%, I think 32%. The S&P 500 is down 4.5%, if memory serves. 2019 earnings growth was down 4.5%, and the earnings growth and the S&P was up 32%. I mean, it's crazy how close those two things came. I had a couple of people like, your numbers are wrong, dude. In 2000, blah blah blah. I said, it's on any given year, it could be anything because you have this thing called PE, well, basically price to earnings, right? So you have this thing called the people are buying up stocks or people are selling stocks depending on what in terms of fear or greed. And so if you have a little bit more greed, you're gonna have a higher PE. If you have a little bit more fear, you're gonna have a lower PE. But even if you factor in appreciation versus depreciation, the earnings growth year over year plus dividend yield is without question the best analysis of future returns. You can't use, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but you shouldn't be using historical rates of return. It's dumb. Don't do that. You say, what do I expect for earnings growth? 4.5. Okay, that's good. I expect 2% dividend yield. Why? Because that's what the S&P 500 is paying right now. And then that's the starting point for your expected rate of return. That's what I do. That's what Jeremy Siegel does. That's what Bob Shiller does. That's what John Bogle did. And that's what the Vanguard Capital's Market Group does, VCMM. And that's what I use too. If people are saying, he'll go name was 12% historically. Yeah. No, so let me show you a book. And I've shared this with folks before. This is John Bogle's Common Sense on Mutual Funds. He talks about this right here. And you'll see it's signed. Old John Bogle. He signed my book. How did I get John Bogle to sign my book? Because I was working at Vanguard in Arizona in 1998, and John Bogle came by to give us his book signed. So I got to shake the great man's hand. And you should get this book because he talks about common sense on mutual funds, and he talks about earnings growth, and it's just everything. It's such a good look at investing. I think I got I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it here. Anyway, now this is from 1998. They've had updated numbers on this, and you should get this. And if you go to my Amazon page, which is in the show notes, you buy through my link, I get paid that sweet Amazon money. I think it's 2%. So I get 2% commission on a $20 book. That's 40 cents, right? So anyway, I better close that door. So, all right. So anyway, so that's why, because now again, if you're single, I would suggest there's not a huge difference between 67 and 70. 67 is your full retirement age. If you're married, there is absolutely. If you're single, it probably doesn't matter all that much. But I wouldn't take that 62. Social Security is the best investment bet there is in terms of actuarial performance, because there's the actuarial tables where they gave you the 8% earnings credits, delayed earnings credits, were based in 1982. 1982, when Reagan in 1983 signed the taxation of Social Security. Guess what? Interest rates in 1982 were what? Like 15%. All right. That's why the delayed earnings credits at 8% is so significantly high, because it's based on the interest rates at that time, which is nuts. We're not having the 8% interest rates today. It's not happening. All right. So let's see what other kind of questions we have here. This guy says, who maybe using Roth IRA to pay mortgage balance in retirement? Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I think it makes sense. You don't want to be house rich and cash poor? Is that what it is? You don't want to be house rich and cash poor. I'd be hesitant to do that. First of all, what I tell people all the time is you don't want to use your liquidity. I was talking to a guy about a week ago, emailing him back and forth, and he was going to pay. He had about 300,000 liquid. He was going to buy a house, do a reverse mortgage to buy, the 50% on the house, and then he wanted to know if he should. That's what it was. He wanted to know if he should spend 2/3 of his liquidity in order to pay the mortgage off. Basically, all he'd have is he has got no kids. He's single, so he doesn't care. So he said he just don't want to have a mortgage. So he said, I think he had $300,000. He wanted to do a reverse mortgage to pay off. I think it was like, we'll just say 150. And he wanted to know, it seems like it was more than that though. Either way. And he wanted to know, should he come to the table to pay off the regular, to buy the rest of the house and not have any mortgage. And that was going to leave him like, I think it was like, maybe he had to bring 180 to the table. So I only left him 120. And I said, I don't think you should do that, man. Just take the mortgage, because the mortgage on a $150,000 house is going to be like $750 a month. I don't like starting to see my liquidity dwindle like that. That's not good. That's why I've been telling people, even during the beginning of the commie virus, the sweet and sour sniffles, the insanity that is. By the way, I deleted my video on nuts. Why I said nuts, because it has that rattling. I don't know what's going on with that. I'm not sure if it's weird. It didn't do that before, so I deleted that. So anyway, I got to work on that. I'm not sure why it has such a rattling when I'm driving and I'm taking the videos. So Jill asked me, why did I delete that? She didn't ask me why I deleted it. She just said, did you delete it? But anyway, so what I was telling people is like, look, don't be, because a lot of people say, should I start using my cash to pay down my mortgage? Pay down my mortgage, not pay off the mortgage. And I said, no, we want you to have liquidity. Liquidity is king. Cash is king. Having a house with no debt is great, but having a house with no debt and minimal cash, that's not good. Especially, I'm telling you right now, my wife was just telling me right now that, we have this on the board. It's kind of like it's a fake Mexican restaurant, but we liked it. We enjoyed it. It wasn't great, but it was good. You know what I'm saying? And it's a chain, and they closed down because of freaking commie virus. We had another chain out there in Alpharetta, Corner Bakery. They closed down. I mean, these freaking places are closing down left and right. And I can't remember what's going on in the unemployment, but there is going to become a reawakening, man, in terms of where people, they wake up and they're like, it hasn't hit yet. It's going to hit. There's no way 30 million jobs could be lost. And just like that, we're all back to even Steven. It's freaking ugly, and it's going to be ugly. And we might have been able to dodge a bullet with stimulus packages. You can't keep paying stimulus packages for people to sit on their asses all day long. At some point, people got to get back to work. And there's not going to be as jobs out there because the freaking restaurants, all this is closed. You hear about Halfwit up in Michigan? Halfwit says, you can go to bars now because the Supreme Court basically, freaking kicked her teeth in with her insanity. She goes, okay, Supreme Court, well, I'll let you go to bars, but you have to stay seated and 6 feet apart, and you have to wear a mask, because apparently if you stand, you can get coronavirus. The whole thing is insane. It's literally a power trip for these people. And so if you're a bar owner, you put all your life savings in these bars, you're freaking... It's insane. You just lost all your investment. You lost your life savings. You got no customers. And on top of that, the employees, what are they going to do? It's nuts. And they can all kiss my butt. It freaking infuriates me. And so anyway, so we have these places down here that are closing up. Oh, someone will come back and replace them. That's why I had some clowns that said that on my own channel. It's like, dude, do you have any kind of freaking empathy? You're like, oh, some other restaurant coming to replace them. With what cash, fool? It'll be Amazon. That's it. Amazon and Microsoft and Bill Gates. And he'll say, if you come to our restaurant, you will get vaccine. It's crazy. Anyway, so I'm sitting there thinking, we're not out of the woods yet. And so you need to have cash on the side, because cash on the side is what puts food on the table. It's not equity in a home. And until we get out of the woods in terms of what is happening around us, with idiots actually wearing a mask in the pool, not to the pool, which is idiotic enough, in the pool. It's freaking insane. It's insane. And so once we get past this insanity of this we've all been hypnotized by freaking Dr. Fauci. It's I'm think just hold cash on the side. Don't pay off your mortgage, and don't pay it down. If you're paying it off, that's one thing. But if it's only being paid down, or you're still carrying a mortgage, don't do that. So anyway, in this guy's case, Ricky says, paying off your mortgage with a Roth. I got no qualm with that. My concern would be, what are you left with when all said and done? That's for sure. Whopper says, would a PE ratio of 4 in the 60s or 70s be equivalent to a PE ratio of 4 now? No. Or would you have to adjust for inflation, where a PE ratio of the 60s would be equivalent to the 15 today? No, you don't have to adjust for inflation in that regard. The reason a PE ratio of 4 in the 60s isn't the equivalent of a PE ratio now is because interest rates in the 60s we're not at, where we're at now with a 30-year treasury paying 1.7, I think. Let me see. 30-year treasury is paying, do it. All right, there, 1.5. So you're locking in 30-year government bond at 1.5%. And if our memory serves, let me just see if I can't, let me go here and we will share my screen. We're going to share this right here. Yeah, there we go. All right, so share my screen. If we go to historical, I think I got inflation there. Inflation, no, I got 10-year treasuries. Hold on, that's $1. Inflation. All right, let me just go over here a little bit. And what do I do with the 10-year? That's inflation, S&P. What do I got on here? Historical inflation, S&P 500, dollar. That's inflation. I want the 10-year treasury. Hold on just a sec. We're going to find this. This is the last thing we do. We are going to find the 10-year treasury. Inflation, dollar. All right. 10-year treasury. All right, sweet. So my man asked in 1960s, let's look at the 10-year treasury. Let's see. So we go to 1960s. 10-year treasury is 3.83, 4.17, 4.19, 1966, 4.61, 5.5, 6, 7. And so a PE ratio of 4. Remember, Whopper, a PE is just a price you're paying for the price you're willing to pay for $1 for $1 earnings, if that makes sense. So am I stopping sharing? Hold on a second. What am I doing here? Hold on just a second. I'm all jacked up. There we go. All right. Oops. Screwing this up royally. Hold on. There we go. Okay. There we go. All right. So remember the PE ratio is just the price you're willing to pay for $1 of earnings. Now you always have to look at the competing asset. So if I want to buy $1 of earnings and it's cost me 4, but the alternative is I can lock in my money at a 30-year treasury at 6. That has a pretty good, I got to weigh those two things. If I want to buy a PE ratio of 15, that means I'm willing to pay $15 for $1 of earnings, or I could lock up my money for 30 years with a 10-year treasury at 1.5, a 30-year treasury at 1.5. That you got to weigh the alternative. So the government bonds are essentially the risk-free return. So if you're getting 6 on a government bond, that's a 6 as a risk-free return. Well, I mean, essentially, if you're getting 6 back then and 1.5 now, you're essentially getting 400% more on the risk-free return than you're getting now back then, which means if I have a PE ratio of 4, I should have the equivalent PE ratio of 16 to equate for the fact that the 30-year treasury is at 1.5. So a PE ratio, if I have a 6% 30-year treasury bond, and that's what I can invest in, and the PE of 4, the equivalent of that would be a 1.5 30-year treasury and a PE of 16. It's kind of where we're at, basically. If that makes sense. Now, you weren't getting 4 PE back then. In fact, I think I can even look. If we look at the Shiller stuff, let me share my screen again. Where do I want to go? Yeah, let's look here. So if we look at the Shiller stuff, I think I even got PE ratios in here because I get this from the Shiller webpage at Yale. And maybe I don't. But do I got PEs? I might not. Tell you what, hold on just a second. Let me Shiller, Yale. All right. Oh, I just had it right there. Hold on just a second. Here we go. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to, and I probably won't do this right now, but you all can. If you go to, this is Robert Shiller's stuff at Yale. We click on his homepage and you can see all his data right right online data right there. And so I'm not going to do it right now, but you can see all his data. Alternate version of CAPE. So this is who was it? My man Fritz and I were talking up when I was up in Blue Ridge. A lot of people, I think, I'm trying to be diplomatic. They see Shiller with a PhD from Yale, and they see Shiller with his Nobel Prize. And I'm not attributing this to Fritz. I think there's many people who are professional financial advisors who actually do this. They act as if it's all encompassing for what these guys are saying, as if it's God's spoken word. And Shiller has a specifically adjusted price to earnings ratio, and it's very seductive. And I got no qualm with looking at it. I got none whatsoever. Let me show you a couple books. Right here. Let me show you a couple books on this. It's easy to get sucked in by the allure of PhDs, freaking Yale, of Nobel Prizes and stuff. Oops. All right. Here's The End of Wall Street by Roger Lowenstein. Oh, wait. Is this it? No. This wasn't the one. I forgot what the one was. Oh, right here. Oh. Is this it? Yeah. It was on long-term capital management. I don't think this was it. It was the long-term capital management. I can't remember. And it was on long-term capital management. The smartest guys in the room. When genius failed, that's what it was. When genius failed, Roger Lowenstein. I got it up there someplace. He talks about literally the smartest guys in the room who basically took down Wall Street. It's nuts. So just because you got some guy with a PhD, it doesn't mean crap. It doesn't. Secondly, you got Probable Outcomes by Ed Easterling, and I think he just died, if memory serves. And this is an interesting book, and again, very seductive. And I'm not saying you don't want to read it and stuff, but he talks a lot about CAPE ratios. Let's see if you can. He talks a lot about CAPE ratios, and let me see if I can. I'm not going to be able to find it. But he said basically probable outcomes. We looked at the things like these graphs right here: rolling 10-year stock return, total return before transaction costs, and the issue is that the CAPE ratio is something that many people have subscribed to and assume that because the CAPE ratio is quite high, inherently the market has got to go low. And literally, I read this in 2010 and it hasn't happened. Doesn't mean it won't happen, but the correlation is weak at best. It just really is. The point about that I'm trying to say is just, be careful of falling for the academic guys, because just because they have academic credentials, I hate to say it, but so does a Michael Mann, the climate scientist, and that guy's a joke. Everybody knows it. Everyone who pays attention. I got it. Listen, if you guys want to support your old buddy Josh, you can go to right here. I'm going to share with you. I'm going to give you my sales pitch. Subscribestar. You go to Subscribestar and you type in /Josh Scanlon right there. I don't know what's going to if I do that or not. And what happens is I try to do a monthly Subscribestar only Q&A thing like we're doing here, except in Subscribestar, you can actually, literally call in. You just call in through the internet, voice over internet protocol, I guess. Pretty cool. And it's solely for Subscribestar people. It's $10 a month. I don't bill you. It comes directly from, your PayPal, whatever, and you can cancel anytime you want. But if you do want to support my work, you go to subscribestar.com/Josh Scanlon. People who are in Subscribestar, I'm going to send them my new book, which is about ready to be done. I'm sitting there looking at it today, and I am doing the final run through. I'm down to let's see. I am down right here on the end, and then I am done. And I'm going to push this on Amazon. I'm hoping to tomorrow or Friday. Oh, I can't freaking wait. And if my man Bob, John, and or Theo are out there, and Mary, you guys are the man. All right, Mary's a lady, but she's the man of the hour, even though she's a lady, if that makes sense. And I don't think Mary would be, oh, don't mansplain to me. Don't you dare mansplain to me. Nah, Mary's she'll kick your butt. But there's one thing about a New England girls who are, let's put it this way. The wealthy hoity-toity New England girls are, I've never. But the real New England girls, they're just like miners in West Virginia. They don't care. I'll never forget when I had forgotten how bad I enjoy the Northern New Englanders when I was working at First Citizens Bank and we're at some training program talking about taxes. It was the best training I've ever had by far and away. And I could not believe how much I enjoyed it. Long story short, we had a chick who was working next to us, and I was a branch manager or a business banker / branch manager. She was too. And she was in I don't think it was a Boston office, but up there someplace. And I can't remember. But anyway, just talking. It's just no, what's the word I'm looking for? Just doesn't care. It's like, oh man, when you're in the 70s and 80s growing up, you play games, smear the, you know what I'm saying? And, it's just the stuff, the kind of languaging I had forgotten that real people say. It was funny, man. And, people get offended by, I'm so offended. It's just, I was like, people just have the ability to talk without feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm going to break some eggs and people are going to be so offended. I miss that. That's the nice thing about being in the South too. Most people are just like that too. Now, again, if you go to the hoity-toity people stick in the butt, you're like, oh my goodness. But, it's wonderful. So I just, anyway. So Mary, Bob, John, and Theo, mucho gracias. All right. So let's see. All right. So then my man says, does a 4% PE then now sound like a 4% PE now? Yes. All right. So let's see what other kind of question we have here. All right. How does the Wellington compare to the Vanguard target date fund? I haven't done this is my man Tim, haven't done the comparison, but I would imagine that Wellington would have done better simply because there's not enough history on target date funds. A, B, because the Wellington fund stays consistently 65-35, it would do better just simply has more, it has more stocks. All right, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, here we go. So how do you future returns on a typical 60-40 portfolio with bond interest being so low, the risk down in bonds? All right, so let's talk about that. So we're gonna say we have a hypothetical $100,000 portfolio, and we're in a 60-40 portfolio. So we have 60%. So here's how you establish rates of return. So you have $100,000. We have 60%. So that's 0.6 is 60%. 40% in bonds. So 0.6 in stocks, 0.4 in bonds. All right. So we think stocks are going to give us 6.5% rate of return, which is 0.065. Right. So we take our 0.6 times 0.065. That's 6.5%. Then we take our 0.4 times by 0.02, because that's what we were saying bonds are. So we got 0.6 times 0.065. Then we add that to 0.4 times our expected bond rate of return, which is 0.02. We times these numbers. So we say 0.6 times 0.065. That gives us 0.039. And then we take 0.4 times 0.02. That gives us 0.008. All right, so what we're doing now is we're saying our expected rate of return on a 60-40 portfolio of the 60% in stocks, we expect to get 3.9%. That'll give us a rate of return of 3.9% on the entirety of that $100,000 portfolio. The 40% in bonds, we expect to get 80 basis points or 0.8%. So we add these two together times 0.039, and we get a 0.047 rate of return, which is 4.7%. So if we have a 60-40 portfolio, and we expect our rate of return on stocks 6.5, bonds 2%, when all said and done, we would expect a 4.7% rate of return on that 60-40 portfolio going forward. Now 4.7 is, if you look at my Right Capital stuff, that's pretty much identical to what I'm saying in there. I don't think bonds are any more risky or any less risky simply because bonds are bonds, you know what I'm saying? But the risk comes in the fact that if we do go to any inflationary environment, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be inflation like the 70s. It can just be a moderate inflation. The bonds that you have now are doomed. There's just no other way around that. And frankly, that's what I found in Wellington. I mean, I love the Wellington. I do. If you think you're going into an inflationary economy, I think you'd be better served by the good old-fashioned barbell and stocks. And I was talking to a guy today, a lady today from Colorado, cash and VTI. That's it. If you think that inflation is going to stay low, like Japan, then Wellington's great, without question. Well, without question, is really your preference. But you'd have to make why is inflation going to be high? Well, the government's printing money. Okay. The government has too much debt to GDP. Okay. And I just simply, what's your excuse for Japan? Well, Japan, they have older population. We have an older population. Japan, they buy their own debt. We buy our own debt. Japan doesn't allow for immigration. Okay, well, we do allow for immigration, which actually helps our growing economy for sure. But either way, Japan has had a debt to GDP ratio of freaking over 200% for years and years and years and years. And they simply don't have inflation, none at all. Their Nikkei hasn't done much, I grant you. But their bonds have done okay relative to inflation. They just haven't had any. They don't have now. They have negative. I'll tell you what. I haven't looked for a while. That's hot tea, by the way. For you all new here, I'm a teetotaler. Are you a teetotaler if you drink coffee, but you don't smoke or drink or anything else? I don't know. All right, so let me clear out of this. Oops. All right, so let's go to macro trending economics. Is it trending economics? Macro, I think macro economics. No, is it trending? Hold on a second. What's the current Japanese bond rates? Trending economics, is that what it is? Trading economics. There we go. Sweet. There we go. All right, cool. All right, so let's bring this up. I love trading. I got to probably buy a subscription. These guys are fantastic. All right, so here's a Japanese 10-year right now, 0.03. 0.03. Oops. Just screwed that up. Look at that. 0.03. That's a 10-year bond. And it's been like that. Oh, there we go. Let's go to 25 years. I mean, look at this. This is 2010. Is that 10-year bond is 0.71, right there. It's 0.89. I mean, they've been since 2001 at 1.25. I mean, even that right there is 1.25, 1.27. For 20 years, they've been around 1. And then for 10 years, they've been under 1. I mean, here's negative right there. Here's negative again. I mean, this is freaking nuts. Look, negative. Now we're at freaking 0.32. Yeah. I mean, that's just, and if we look at debt to GDP, let's see, let's go to Japan. It's like 240%. It's nuts. Let's go to stats. I want to go stats. I want to go to, hold on just a second. Let me get out of this. All right. I want to go to, let's go to trading economics, and we're going to go to Japan. There we go. That's coronavirus. There we go, Japan. So let's take out Government, yeah, government debt to GDP, 236%. I mean, look, they've been above 200 since 2010. You go to 25 years, they've been 2000 right there. 200, 2009, I guess, at 200%. And they're up at freaking 36 now. Debt to GDP, it's crazy. So we say, okay, well, that must mean they have high inflation, right? Because they have so much debt to GDP. We look at prices and we look at consumer price index. I guess we can go to core inflation rate. Let's go to core inflation rate. Here's their inflation. I mean, it's that ain't inflation, my friends. That's deflation. That's deflation. Prices are going down in value. So they got inflation here, 2014 at 3%, and then right back to zero. I mean, look at that. It's zero, deflation, 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 deflation. I mean, how do you explain that? Well, they have an aging demographics. Well, I mean, 2020 years ago, they were 20 years less aging, and yet we still have, I mean, this is deflation, deflation, mass deflation, minimal deflation, back in deflation. And yet the price, the debt to GDP is through the roof. It's crazy. I don't know how you would justify saying we have to go to mass inflation because the government spending is through the roof when Japan is I mean, it's nuts. And then we can say, okay, well, let's look, they must have, because you can't have inflation with high employment, right? So they have to have high, let's see, they got employment rates. No, let's look at unemployment rates and we'll see unemployment rates, 3%, man, 3%. So Japan's got 3% unemployment, no inflation, is deflation, debt through the roof, 10-year treasury base at zero, almost negative yields. I mean, how do you justify that? How do you say that we have to have inflation? Look, that's their 30 basis points right there. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, three basis. That's the last. It's nuts. I mean, I literally sit there. I said, this is insane, man. How low these bonds are. What if we can go to? I want to go to 1 month. Yeah, so there's a month. There's a 1 month bond, negative 10 basis points, negative interest rates, negative interest rate policy. Look at that. 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 7 year. 7 year, -8, -0.8, 8 basis points. You're paying money to loan money to Japan. 20-year bond, 0.41, 30-year bond, 0.64. Oh, but that's Japan's is not, let's go to, where's the EU? Let's go to Germany. Japan's the outlier, is it now? Here's Germany. Oh, my lands. Look at that. 10-year German bonds, negative 55 basis points. I mean, look at that. 30-year bonds in Germany, negative 15 basis points. Huh? That's crazy. Let's look at Germany, the rest of Germany here. Do they got the EU on here or what? All right, let's just keep going down. Let's just read some headlines. U.S. producer prices rise more than expected. That'd be a sign of inflation. We shall see. U.S. crude inventories fall more than expected. Brazilian equities rise. Eurozone industrial output rises less than forecast. China, new yuan loans highest in 6 months. All right. So let's go down to Germany and let's see what their G interest rates are. Negative. All right. Well, they're actually in right there. Inflation rates, deflation. Inflation rate is in negative territory. They're 4.4% unemployment. It used to be literally 5% used to be full employment. Then we went to 4%, and now, and that meant huge inflation. Let's see. They have debt to GDP of 59.8, so it's lower than Japan by a fraction of freaking 85%, I guess. They have current account, so they have looks like trade surpluses. Okay, now you got us. We got debt to GDP of 106. Jobless rate of 8, inflation 1.4. So what's supposed to happen is it's not supposed to work like this, man. Um, we have deficits, 4.6%. It looks like Germany has surpluses. But look, none of this makes sense economic wise. So you can't sit there and say, well, if you have mass amount of spending, you're going to have mass inflation. Well, Japan does not. Okay. So if you have little bit of spending, you're going to have mass inflation. Germany does not. If you don't have spending, you're going to have a huge unemployment. Germany apparently has little spending because they're running surpluses, and yet they have hardly any unemployment. Japan has huge government spending, and they're running deficits, and they have low unemployment. The whole thing is just, it takes the whole economic theory out. So when people say we're going to have inflation, I say, okay, show me where. Where is there any inflation? Any. It's going to be Turkey, all right? We're going to see some inflation in Turkey, 11.75, Saudi Arabia 6. Hell, Mexico's only 4, and we're going to see in Venezuela. We know Venezuela's a basket case. Sad too, because it wasn't always like that. You got Iran, you got Argentina. I mean, these are basket cases. But every place else, there is no inflation to speak of at all. Even Bangladesh is only 5.68, for heaven's sake. Here's Finland, no inflation. Vietnam's only 3%. Denmark, none. Malaysia's in deflation. Singapore deflating. Ireland deflation. Let me make sure. Yeah, there's the inflation rate. And I mean, all these guys have debt to GDP. I mean, look, here's Italy, inflation rate negative 50 basis points. It's deflation, no interest rates, and their debt to GDP is 135, which is more than us. Let's keep looking. Here's Spain, similar debt to GDP as us. Inflation is negative, interest rates are negative, and they got jobless rates through the roof. Spain, I just read too that they're going to pass 2 major new tax increases too. So that's only going to help the job market. But Spain, they have national health care, Josh. Don't you see? They're so well run. Canada, 89.7% debt to GDP. So, right around us. Their inflation is 0.110. So 0.10, 10 basis points, and you're getting at least a quarter on the bonds. Actually, what's Canada's unemployment rate? 9%. All right, so old Justin Trudeau there. The point is, when people say we have to have inflation, I mean, literally, I don't know if you have to or not. I just say, well, let's look at Japan. It ain't there. And you have to make it you have to make an argument why that's happening. Then I say, okay, let's look at these other countries. The facts are, China is going to go from 1 billion people now to 750 by the end of this century. All right, so we have a aging population across the world, less babies being born, less mouths to feed, less consumer demand, an older population, and this is why they say what advertisers want, the 25 to 54%, 25 to 45 or 25 to 54 age group, because that's where people can still make changes. They still can target them and basically manipulate them to change their spending habits, if that makes sense. When you're older, you don't change. You're like, I like my shoes, my tennis shoes, I'm not changing. Yeah, I like my Ford Mustangs, I'm not changing. I like my Guinness Stout. Oh, I'm not changing. You see what I'm saying? So they want to get the younger age demographics, because that's when they are more prone to change and try something new. That's why that's their target market in advertising. The reason is because as you get older, you don't change and you just don't consume as much. That's all there is to it. And so the world as we see it here today is having a decelerating population curve, where by the end of the century, like I said, China is going to have 750 million, not 1 billion. There's another, I forgot what the other country was. Japan will be freaking like the size of Ireland, essentially, or something like that. It's not going to be anything. U.S., a lot of these major big countries right now, like Russia, is going to be nothing. They just not have enough kids. And of course, you can say, like in Russia, I think they're aborting like 85% of the pregnancies get aborted. Some evil thing like that. It's crazy. And so we have this increasingly growing human population. And because of that, you're going to have less and less consumption, and consumption drives economies. That's all there is to it. And America is going through the same thing, which is why I think we'll have a low inflation. I'm not sure we're going to be deflationary, but low inflation for as far as I can see. Now, one thing that's interesting, and I don't know what to make of this, just talk to some people who are big into AI, and they're like, look, we are now developing programs. They literally have seen this with themselves, that where it used to take 200 people to make these widgets, now it takes 20. All right. So the productivity for the remaining 20 is through the roof. And that was seen to be inflationary because it creates all kinds of profits, all kinds of time, because now I don't have to sit there and, boom, 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 boom. Now the AI does it, machine learning and a 3D printing and whatnot. But now you also have a lot of idle people, and those idle people, hopefully they're going to do something with their own time that they have and whatnot. But I don't know if that's inflationary or deflationary. I frankly don't know. I think it could go either way. You got, 180 people don't have that job. That doesn't mean they don't have any jobs, but they don't have that job. What are those 180 people going to do? Are they going to do productive stuff where they're increasing the economy by, charging ahead with their own businesses, or are they going to sit on their butts and pick their nose all day while watching Oprah? I don't know. And so because how do you say AI is going to create inflation or deflation? Man, I don't know. But if I look at Japan, I have a feeling one of the reasons why it's such a deflationary economy is because heavily text focused. You see what I'm saying? I would think. But, other than never having been there, my daughter is going for an internship next year. We shall see. But I have a sneaky suspicion that they have a lot of less consumer demand and more tech. Actually, I don't know. I frankly don't know. I'm going on a limb there, and I know some of you guys are Japan a whole lot better than I do. But anyway, all right. So let's see what we got on here. Nancy says we've been saving for you. Yeah, well, that's an issue, Nancy. When people hit retirement, again, I cannot stress enough. You got the accumulation phase, and then you got the decumulation phase. And when you're accumulating, you have a job. You're adding, and you still have income to pay the bills. And all of a sudden, not only are you not adding, you topped out, but now you're taking. Woo! That's a scary, scary thing. Scary thing. And if you look at that kind of cross, if you will, I didn't mean to do that, but there you go. You're adding, then you're taking. It's backwards for me. You're taking. And this right here, when you start to see the portfolio decline, I'm trying to draw like that. Well, I'm not going to be able to do it. When you start to see the portfolio decline after 40 years of adding, it's a tough place to be. Tough place to be. All right. Nancy Lim says, please explain rationale for why you recommend converting TSP funds to Vanguard account. Well, TSP used to have a huge, let me turn my fan on. Oh. Man, I can't believe I can't. Oh. Can't believe I can't find When Genius Failed. Another great book is Benoit Mandelbrot, The Misbehavior of Markets. Definitely get this. This is see, I just picked some. Of course, well-behaved price changes are not the only assumption underlying the standard financial world model. So well-behaved price changes are not the only assumption underlying the standard financial model. Another one is that each flip of the coin, each quiver of the price should be independent of the last. There should be no predictable pattern on which you can trade and profit. Alas, for the financial establishment, this is a fairy tale because there is something called trend and momentum. Large changes of more than 5 standard deviations from the average happen 2,000 times more often than expected. Under Gaussian rule, I'm sure it's not Gauss or Gaussian or Gaussian. I don't know how to say that guy's name. It's the bell curve. Under Gaussian rules, you should have encountered such drama only once every 7,000 years. In fact, the data showed it happened once every 3 or 4 years, which is a drawback about Monte Carlo simulations and whatnot, is because you're saying your standard deviation, just because there's a 99.8% probability within 3 standard deviations to be here or there, at the end of the day, according to Benoit, is that large changes of more than 5 standard deviations should happen only once every 7,000 years, but they've happened every 3 or 4 years. So how do you that's a tough one right there, because you're saying, well, how do you model in the future? You got to do something. And that's where I use, even my man, Michael Edison, who I interviewed a couple of times on his channel, a PhD in mathematics, and just a brilliant guy. He does the same. He goes, like, at some point, you got to start someplace. 6.5 for bonds, 17 standard deviation. That's what I do. So it's 6.5 for stocks, with a 17 standard deviation. Basically what, well, let me just do this real quick and I'll get to Nancy's numbers. So basically what you're saying, I get a 6.5 average rate of return right there, 6.5. I'm getting 17 as a standard deviation. And so what you're doing is you're saying basically within, my drawings can be horrible, within 67, or is it 60? I can't remember, but basically within 2/3 of the time, I should get between 6.5 average plus 17 on the positive and 6.5 minus 17 on the negative. So between 66% of the time, I should get between here. That's one standard deviation. 95% of the time, let me draw this a little bit better. And it's about the best we have. That's the thing. 6.5. All right, so 95% of the time, I should get, this is a standard deviation, times that by 2, 34. So I should get 34 plus 6.5, which is 40.5, or a 34 minus 6.5, which is 28. So in this case, I should get negative 28 or plus 40, essentially 95% of the time. Hope that makes sense. 99.8, I think is what it is. 99.8% of the time, I should get between 17, if I'm using standard deviation of 17, I should get 6.5 plus 51 or minus 51. Probably should have done it like this. 99.8% of the time, I should get 6.5 plus 51, which would be 57.5, or 6.5 minus 51, which is what, 48, 46, something like that, on any given annual rate of return. That's how standard deviations work. That's 3 standard deviations. What my man Benoit is sitting there saying, 5 standard deviations. We're talking 99.99999. He says you should have only got once every 7,000 years should you have stock market differential between 5 standard deviations, but data shows it happens once every 3 to 4. That's freaking nuts, dudes. Nuts. All right, so let's go to Nancy's question about TSP versus Vanguard. TSP used to have a competitive advantage because their fees are freaking through the roof. Low. There was no fee. It was great. Those days are long gone. All right, so Vanguard, you're getting ETFs at what, 3 basis points, 4 basis points. I mean, it's just it's a that's nothing. I mean, that's so chump change. It's not even worth to consider it. To say, oh my goodness, my fees at Vanguard are 4 basis points, but I can get 0 fees at Fidelity. I mean, who cares? That's nothing. The difference between 1.25 and 20 basis points is where the big numbers are made. But now we're at 3 and 4 basis points, a big fat nothing burger. So the competitive advantage for TSP is long gone, because you can get these same, essentially the same great investments for the same price, except with Vanguard and Fidelity, the Schwabs of the world, you can choose a whole bunch of different things. You don't have to be stuck with just the C and the S, which I got no qualm with. I got no qualm with C and S. I mean, just that's what you should buy. But the problem with the TSP, frankly, comes to the beneficiary participant account. So Nancy's married to Greg. All right. So Greg, is digging ditches for a living. And Nancy's a bigwig in the military, General Nancy. Nancy dies. All right. She leaves her account to Greg, her BPA, beneficiary participant account. And that's what happens. So Greg inherits this. The problem is when Greg leaves that to heirs, they have to take distributions out ASAP. There's no stretch IRA to the extent that there is somewhat of a stretch for 10 years anymore. The BPA will have to be paid out right away. So there is a non-spouse beneficiary of a BPA. It's not a good place to be. Secondly, when it comes to things like just taking distributions, it's still prorated. You can't say pull my money from the G and leave my C fund alone. It's still got to be prorated, which is freaking insanely stupid. No reason for the TSP Modernization Act of 2017 not to have fixed that. It's dumb. So you got the beneficiary participant account, non-spousal beneficiaries. That's just a clusterfuck. And then on top of that, you got the prorated amount. You got to take out a percentage from each account that you have. It's just stupid. And lastly, for powers of attorney, I mean, what's the likelihood of you needing a durable power of attorney that the TSP is going to grant that? It's not very likely. So from a pure management stake, just go to Vanguard. You're not losing anything from TSP. Now, be advised, there are some negatives here. If you live in Maryland, don't. I'm just telling you, Maryland, the employer-sponsored plan, anything that falls under ERISA, TSP does, IRAs do not. There is some tax benefits in Maryland if you keep your money in your employer plan for pulling it out as opposed to IRAs. It's nuts. I've done videos on that. On top of that, if you separate from service post 50, if you're a first responder, Leo, medic or something like that, you have access to your TSP without a penalty. You do not have access to your IRA without a penalty. And if you separate from service post 55, if you're non-first responder, you have access to your TSP without penalty. You don't have access to your IRA without penalty. So if you're under the age of 59 and a half, I'd probably leave it at the TSP, frankly. If you're over the age of 59 and a half, there's literally no reason to keep your TSP. None whatsoever. Hope that helps. Can you please make some comments about using the catch-up available to 401k holders after you're 50? Yeah, I mean, I just doing the Roth, Ray. So, you got to catch up. Was it $5,000? I think I can't remember the exact amount, but I think it's $5,000. I did a video the other day. Stop using your 401k for your tax deferrals. Still, you want to do your Roth, absolutely, but yeah, use your catch up if you can afford it. I mean, if you can, I think it's 24,000, right? So that's 2,000 a month. If you can swing 2,000 a month into your Roth, absolutely get that done for sure. Sold all my stocks, not buying back until after the election. Okay, I wouldn't do that, but I have learned not to let politics dictate my investments. That's for sure. But hey, I mean, that's what you got to do. Oh man, Dustin said he finally got his mom to read my Roth book. She says she wishes she had read it at my age. And Dustin says, I do too, Mom. That way you could give me that tax-free money as opposed to a tax bomb. In fact, I think I got, for you all haven't bought it, man, I had it up here. Right here. Tax bomb and your retirement account. Tax bomb, look at that. Isn't that a great cover? I didn't make that. Some guy did. The same guy did, not the same guy, but the same group, the design crowd came up with that. I love it. I thought that was fantastic. Nothing on the back. Here's my, you can retire on Social Security with my big mug on the back. I'm not wearing a suit. Some guy was actually seemingly upset that I wasn't wearing a suit. He said, no one's going to take you seriously. I said, okay, have you been watching my videos? If you're not taking me seriously by now, me wearing a suit in my book is going to change your mind. You can retire on Social Security. And then my one here, that my man Finn McKenty from the Punk Rock MBA, which you should subscribe to his channel if you like punk rock, metal, hardcore. But he also has a one on using LinkedIn and other tech platforms for promoting your side hustle. I'm a big fan. So he promoted this on his channel today. Strategic money planning, 8 easy ways to put your house in order. And I talk about the durable power of attorney and guardianship, which is what the TSP can have a hard, any kind of employer plan could give you difficulties in there. I talk about reliable transportation without breaking the bank. I talked about how we leased. Yes, we did. And I'm very happy to have done that. I talk about you should borrow from your 401k to pay off debt. Everyone says it's evil to lease. Everyone says it's evil to borrow from your 401k. It's not. And those people who say that are, do they know your situation? I talk about variable rate mortgages are fine. Talk about beware the great schools trap. Trust me, we've been in the upper elite suburbs for many moons now, and just because we buy our house based on great schools, which is insane. But the problem is they don't mean crap, man. It's all just test scores. Great schools are just test scores. That's it. Now there's going to be some diversity quota in there too, which is stupid. But anyway, it's all test scores. And so who tests better? Well, kids with two-parent families. That's just a fact, man. It has nothing to do with the teachers, has nothing to do with the schools, it has to do from the families for which they come. I mean, it's insane. So you buy the house, because it has great schools. Well, it's not the great schools, it's the family structure is set up differently there than the worse schools. It has nothing to do with schools. It has to do with the neighborhoods in which the schools are. Now, I will say, the schools that we've had the best success. Now, I've had 4 kids in public schools in Virginia, Texas, New Jersey, and Georgia. Yeah, of all the schools that were the best, the principal always, each and every time. The principal was crappy, the school was crappy. The principal was stellar, the school was stellar every single time. The principal is the most important person in that school. I talk about renting versus owning. I talk that debt is the enemy. That's my first chapter, but I want, let's see. The big one I was just talking about was the life insurance thing. I thought I had that. Hold on a second. Where's my life insurance chapter? Hold on a second, man. Where the grade schools trap. Yeah. Everybody mortgages. Yeah. Should borrow from your 401k. Yeah. Lease. Don't rely on your employer for life insurance. Those are my 3 books. I also have 50/50 state-by-state guide to taxes for retirees. Not my best work. It's worth, I think you get it for Kindle Unlimited. I wouldn't pay for that though. Not my best work, but yeah, it's good. It's just, it's written in 2017, published in 2018. So tax laws have changed. So just be advised. You like Rapid City? I'm not there yet. All pro, not there yet. We shall be there in the next couple of weeks. Looking forward to it. They're supposed to snow on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Whoa, Trumpster has 25K at Des Moines. That's nuts. But he's going to lose. I'm telling you, man. I should put Pablo in the profile picture of your new book. That is a good idea. You know what I should do? I should, instead of having my picture right there, I should have Pablo. Oh my goodness. That'd be fantastic. You can't tell me Trump is. I was reading my man John Nolte on Breitbart today. He says, sure doesn't feel like Trump's going to lose. And I said, I agree. And he says, look, I've been around for a long time. And he, like I, was a Democrat back in the 80s. He goes, you just knew. You know what I'm saying? And then he goes, and when Obama was running, you just knew. To be honest with you, I kind of had a thought that Romney might win in 2012. He was getting pretty big crowds, but and he had a big crowd in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, the weekend of the election. It turned out Obama's enthusiasm was much higher than the polls anticipated. That's a fact, and that is. I just don't think I was watching a Biden speech the other, 2 days ago, someplace in Pennsylvania, which is a critical state, and it was like, one guy was clapping. There's a guy with a yarmulke. It's weird, man. I was sitting there thinking, this guy jumps up, he's like clapping, and that's all you hear. It was creepy. And I'm just sitting there thinking, Biden's in Arizona with Kamala and freaking Cindy McCain. It's she just annoys me. Anyway, and he doesn't advertise it. It's just he shows up in some freaking smoke hotel room to say Cindy McCain's here. It's just it's the weirdest thing. And someone was posting that maybe he's not getting any people because his crowd is afraid, literally afraid to die. They're afraid to go out and support him. I said, no, maybe that's the case. But I mean, Trump's getting thousands upon thousands, and Biden's not getting anything. It's the weirdest thing. And he just looks bad too. I was watching him go into this thing with Cindy McCain, and I showed it to my wife. I'm embarrassed for him. I'm embarrassed that his wife is allowing him to do this. It's bad. You want to talk about a backroom cabal? Biden's scary, man. I mean, that guy could win, but it just doesn't feel like Trump's going to lose. I'm telling you. I remember 2008. I knew when Palin was introduced, we had the momentum. We being the Republicans. And then McCain just went insanely stupid. He said, "We're going to, I'll never forget. We're going to suspend our campaign so we can get back to Washington and fix the problems because government is always a fix, even though the government's a cause." And that was the point I knew right then. I said, "This guy's a freaking joke, and no way he's going to win. No way." And 2012, though, I thought Romney had an outside chance, but and Rasmussen had him within spitting distance of Obama, and of course that was wrong. And that's where Rasmussen is kind of is, they've been on and they've been off, they've been on and they're off. Are they going to be on this time or off? I don't know. But the IBD poll is what bothers me the most because, like I said, in 2016, their methodology was in 2012 and 2000 and whatnot, 8, and when they've been spot on. 65% cell phones and 35% landlines. That's what it was in 2012. I imagine it's reverse, back in the early aughts, but still. Now it's 40% cell, 37% online surveys to get more youth voters. That seems odd to me. And 17% landlines. That seems skewed heavily towards youth voters. And on top of that, online surveys is always, it's always a challenge to wonder about online surveys. So I have a sneaky suspicion IBD. And look, someone said, "But Josh, just a couple of days ago, you were touting IBD." I did. And then I saw Biden up by 8. I said, okay, I must be missing something because it just doesn't make any sense. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe Biden has a secret group of people who are scared out of their wits that will never go outside again until, I don't know until when. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. And they're going to vote mail-in ballots. Maybe they'll cheat I don't know. But I'm saying it doesn't feel like Trump is, it just doesn't feel like it to me. So we shall see. Vinyl says, crooks wear nice suits and gold watches. Yep. Leather briefcases too. Well, if you're an anti-Trumpster, you'd say, well, that's Trump right there. What's the max Roth conversion per year? I think it's 7,000, but I think if you're older than that, actually, I think it's maybe 7,000 if you're older than 50. The main thing about, diversified strategies minimize growth. Harry, that's true, which is why active share is the one way to potentially beat the market. Concentrated strategies will give you more growth when you're betting right. See, that's the problem. Diversified strategies minimize growth. They also minimize getting killed. The whole point about retirement planning is to not get killed. And that's where diversification comes in. I don't like this whole thing. Diversification is the only free lunch. That's what Berkowitz, I think, said. Who said that? Berkowitz, something like this. Some big wig in my business. Okay. I don't buy that. It's a free lunch. It's not a free lunch. I mean, diversification inherently means that you're minimizing up and minimizing. You're minimizing up. That's just a fact. You're not minimizing down. I mean, just look at 2007, 8, and 9. A diversified portfolio got crunched just like everything else did, for sure. Let's see. The people that make it big are usually concentrated. There you go. High performance stocks, 100%. No one's going to get super rich with index funds. I don't know about that, man. I think you could get super rich depending on what your version of rich is, for sure. I read Mad Scientist websites that you almost get 1% better compounding in most years by front loading 401k. Oh, yeah, well, that makes sense. So he's basically saying, the market goes up 55 out of 100 times in any given year. So on any given year, the odds are in your favor that the market will be up. And if you compound that over 40 years and you maximize your 401k on 1 January, you're going to have that whole year of growth, which has a 55% historically better chance of success than of loss. So if you do that and you over 40 years, that's going to be pretty substantial for sure. It's based on historical norms. I got no qualm with that. And that's why I tell people in Roth conversions, should I wait till December or do it in January? I said, do it January. That way it's tax-free growth for that whole 364 days for sure. So I don't have any qualm with that. I challenge the idea you get that you get almost 1% better compounding. I always get nervous when people say historically this is what happened. As such, this will happen. I don't know. I don't like that at all. We don't have that many years of historical record in the United States. I'm telling you right now, 30-year rolling periods. They're not that many. They're like 12. That's it. When they're completely exclusive of one another. That's just all there is to it. 30-year rolling periods are like 12. There's 12 instances that are exclusive of each other. So any 30-year rolling period that you're using 29 of the same years, so 1930 to 1959, 1931 to 1960, there's a 96.6% correlation there. They are not exclusive. They're just not. So to say, look, we have these rolling 10, 30-year time frames, well, there's so much overlap there. It's not statistically relevant. They're just not. Now, there's trend momentum. I get all that. But to say, statistically speaking, this has happened, 89 of the 130-year rolling periods, but we don't have that. We just don't. So you got to be careful. I do take issue with this idea that since 1926, we've had 59 or 63 30-year rolling periods. Of those 63, the average market has returned 9% as such. You should be able to expect 9% rate of return. Well, that's I hate to say silly, but there's a lot of overlap there, not statistically relevant. It's just not. And so going back to earnings growth plus dividend yield equals EROR, expected rate of return. I respect investors who can hold through 5 times gains to realize 20 times gains. All right. Well, as long as Harry respects you, then you are in a good place. Just goofing on you, Harry. We're all speaking Mandarin at some point. Let's see. That's what Harry said. I'm just joking. All right. So bring on the pain is Gao for Gaussian. All right. Right on. Bring on the pain. Bring on the pain. The pain. You ever watch Teen Titans Go? They got the pain bot. Oh, it's awesome. Yeah, not like you were eating rice and beans, then go buying Ferraris after you died. Yep. And Dan just continues to. Here's Dan's retirement plan. Dan Trainer from Mass. You know what he's doing? He's looking out the window. The best retirement plan ever. Could not get to Old Orchard Beach this year for Bill's Pizza. Says Mick Scotty. Where are you living at, Mick Scotty? I am DQ. Yeah. Well, there's Vinyl. He's retired, still saving. Right on. Stay in market. Stocks never tank when presidents switch. I agree with that. I think getting out of the market. But look, man. If you can't sleep at night, well, get out. What are you going to miss? A 10% upside? I don't know. But that's kind of the way I look at it. It's like, look, you could miss a 10% upside, but you could also miss a 25% downside. That's kind of the way I look at it. Raphael says, I'm concerned if Biden wins, the market is going to tank. Should I move my stocks to bonds or cash until after the election? No, I wouldn't. But Raphael, I don't know your situation. And I've learned in my many years of experience not to let politics dictate my investments. I hate to say it. Under the Reagan years from 1982, he laid the foundation of incredible growth, without question. Bush put a little bit of a dip in that with a stupid tax raise in 1990, where he got suckered by George Mitchell of Maine. Not the good George Mitchell, fracking George Mitchell. This is the bad George Mitchell of my home state of Maine, who said, you raise taxes, we'll cut spending. And of course, they raised taxes and didn't cut spending. And, he's an inside. Bush was a beltway guy, and he got snuck. He got snickered. Anyway, and then Clinton came along, and all of us on the right were like, oh, my goodness, smart. Look, I was 22 years old. I was 6 months out of the Army. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no money to invest. But we all thought for sure we were doomed. And it turns out from 1993 to 2000, markets took off. Now, and Clinton, to his credit, he oversaw the last surplus that we had. Now, it wasn't because of him, it was because of the Republican Congress who took over in 1994. I mean, that's just a fact. It wasn't because of Clinton, but with that said, he did sign on for it. He signed on the Biden crime bill to Biden's shame, but which put all kinds of innocent black people in jail. That's for sure. And Biden is weird too, because Biden says Trump is going to, or Mittens is going to put y'all back in chains. And those Mittens in 2012, as Sniffy Joe said, was actually Biden who put black people back in chains because his crime bill. But be that as it may, Clinton ran as a moderate after 1994. That's just a fact. And so Republicans had spending cuts, and where they were accused of robbing children of their school lunches and whatnot, Clinton went along with it, welfare reform, and lots of good stuff happened in the 90s, surpluses and the whole thing. And the markets responded accordingly. And then kaboom. And so the presidency of George W. Bush, then into Obama's term, we had some pretty significant maneuvering in the aughts, that's for sure. So under a Bush and then under Obama, it was bad. And then from 2010 on, it was actually March 9th of 2009. It just took off like a, like a bat out of hell. Under Trump too. I mean, it's just fact, man. I mean, it went from 2009, March 9th to 2009, nothing to do with Obama. Barney Frank is Barney Frank. I'm telling you right now, Barney Frank saved the markets, and you heard it here first. March 9th, 2009, bottomed out because Barney Frank had a conference. He was running, it wasn't Ways and Means, maybe the banking. I think he might have been head of the banking committee. And they were getting ready to have a meeting to discuss mark-to-market accounting, which was what was causing the lack of liquidity. The minute that happened, the market took off. It's been ever going up ever since. So we had Obama, evil liberal Democrat, right? You have Clinton, evil liberal Democrat, right? Well, the facts are 1992 to 2000, market took off. Obama's term from 2009 to 2016, market took off. I mean, just you can't let politics determine your investments. And don't forget, the corporatists, the globalists that run Wall Street, they love Biden, because they can control him. I mean, Biden just wants to get rich, man. Biden is just a dude who was able to talk a good talk. People liked him. He's probably a good guy. I bet he's probably a fun guy to hang. Like Clinton's probably a fun guy to hang out with when he was young. I mean, he's an idiot. He doesn't know he's just not that bright. I mean, I'm not even saying he's got dementia. He's just not a bright guy. But he's probably a good guy at the Union Hall to, freaking drink beers with. And he's good at politicking. And so he won consistently. But he just wants to get rich. That's all there is to it. And and the corporatists love him because they say, look, as long as we make you and Hunter rich and give Hunter's unlimited supply of meth, we're going to be good to go. And we can run all over. I mean, look at what Biden did with Ukraine. I mean, come on, man. He just wants, he loves his family. That's a fact. He wants his family to get rich. He wants to get rich too. And he's getting rich. He got rich off politics. It's evil, but he did it. So he's not going to get between corporate Wall Street. I mean, they love the guy. They're like, Biden, we love you. They don't like Trump. Biden's in the pocket of the Chinese. Trump, on the other hand, is like, hell no. And corporatists love China. They don't mind. You think freaking Nike cares 2 iotas about slave labor? Hell no. Nuts. Let's see. Millions of unemployed truckers will make YouTube videos. Hey, bring them on. The more, the merrier. I'm telling you right now. Biden's running for Senate. Exactly. Yeah. What did he say? He's running for Senate, but he said something else along those lines. I forgot what he said. There's no AI won't replace my job. Oh, there's no way AI won't replace my job. That's another reason to retire. So U.S. manufacturing will become competitive. If it were to become competitive, it would be deflationary for sure. I don't think it will be. I think it's going to be it's going to have some what's the word I'm looking for? Mercantilism, if that makes sense, where we're protecting our industries. And that's bad from a laissez-faire libertarian. It really is. It's bad. Mercantilism is doomed ultimately to fail. But you know what else is doomed to fail is China controlling all of our manufacturing. It's just all there's to it. And I did a video, one of my first 10 videos on we need U.S. steel production in America. And China was the LPTs, a large power transmission station, a large power transmission. Some of y'all might know, but China had the corner of that, like 60 or 80% of all LPTs was manufactured in China, which is flipping scary given our grid is such a nightmare out here. We've got to get we've got to get manufacturing back. That's just a fact, and that will be actually inflationary for sure because it's going to cost money for our American wages, and it's going to cost money. It's going to go to the prices of the products, but frankly, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. I think at the end of the day, I think the corporatists will win. I really do. I mean, I think they're going to win, and that doesn't mean this election they're going to win. I just think they play the long game, and we are just trying to put food on the table. But they got so much money. They can fund, Black Lives Matter and Antifa. Anarchists, George Soros can, Tom Steyers of the world. They can fund these guys for the long game. We don't really have anyone like that on our side. We just don't. And so because of that, we might win an election here and there, and we might arrest the ultimate takeover. But I don't think we're going to defeat it. They're just too big and powerful. They got the money. CNBC says the wealthy are setting up trust in case Biden wins. All right. Bill Gates wants to shrink the population. No, he's an evil guy. He's evil. I mean, you just saw him. He said we can reduce the growth of the population by 15% with vaccines and birth control. Not Planned Parenthood, but there's abortion is what it was, family planning, and just an evil guy. No other way around it. Just not a good dude. Let's see. Broadway being shut down has a big trickle effect beyond New York City, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't get why the libs are thrown in. I don't understand that, man. I don't get why the libs threw in with that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's weird to me because these local acting places, we have them all over the place. New Hampshire, Maine, they have these small, places, choir groups, acting facilities, and not to be open is just it's weird to me. It's these guys can't work. We talked about that right on. Raphael, bring on the pain Lexus Ferrari is not changing. Wow. Our small tourist town was packed in July and August, says Tim. All right. Where's that, man? In Spain, the average doctor makes $39K compared to the US $218K. No wonder their medical system works. I don't know about that. You going to Spain when you need a surgery? Hey, he went to the movies first time of the year. Many people there. If things open, people will go. Many malls are packed. Ray says that's why those nations are low on the economic freedom. Right on. Inflation can be, you need some. Theoretically, you need some inflation. That's what they said theoretically. 2% target. I don't know. I believe that. Let's see. If I give money to the poor, you would have inflation. I want to share with you guys something. This is nuts. My wife sent this to me, and this is freaking awesome. If I can, right here. All right, so I'm going to read this to you guys. This is this guy right here, Julius Akon. My wife knew him at college at George Mason. He was an Olympic runner at George Mason University, and I think he kind of was digging my wife, actually. But anyway, check this out. Julius Achon has an inspiring story of hope which continues to unfold. He grew up in the remote village of Awake in northern Uganda in severe poverty. At the age of 11, he was captured by rebels of the Lord's Resistance Army and forced to become a child soldier. He was held captive for 3 months until an opportunity to escape arose when a government plane flew over the LRA camp, the Lord's Resistance Army. Julius escaped, but sadly witnessed the murder of 9 of his friends as they ran for their lives. When Julius returned to school, he knew he had athletic talent, so he began to run 8 clicks a day to and from school each day. To avoid missing out on competing, he ran 72 kilometers in 4 hours to make the carnival, which was a track competition we went on to win. This is the first of many local successes, which led Julius to being offered a scholarship to George Mason. They say in South Carolina, but it's in Virginia. From here, Julius began his professional running career, including bearing the flag for Uganda at the Sydney 2000 Olympics. One morning on a routine training run in Uganda, he literally stumbled upon 11 orphan children living in a bus shelter. These children, who had been displaced by Africa's longest running war, were without food, clothing, housing, or education, and with some of the children unable to even remember their own names. From that day on, Julius took the children in as his own family. It was after this time, when he struggled to take care of the orphans, that he had a chance meeting with Alois, and the seeds for love mercy were sown. Julius's dreams of seeing his village prosper had begun to take shape with the opening of the Christina Health Center in 2002, named after his late mom, who was shot and killed by the Lord's Resistance Army. Julius lives in Kampala with his wife Grace and 2 children, where he manages this thing, Loves Mercy. So we're going to give these guys some money. I sit there, and there's some of the children, and I was watching this video on post-traumatic slavery syndrome, and I'm sitting there thinking, the thing that just pisses me off about that is that I'm sitting there thinking, wait a second, man. We actually have Black people in this world who are enslaved right now, and we have an issue of Black people being enslaved by light-skinned people in Sudan and Cuba, and we have Black people enslaving other Black people. And I'm sitting there thinking, it's awful hard to be sympathetic. It's awful hard to be sympathetic when I'm hearing, if it wasn't for us and the white skin, then there would be less of an issue here for some people in America. When I see people like this who can come to America and succeed royally and then go back to their home countries after seeing his mom shot and killed by rebel tyrants. I tell you, man, I don't know why. It infuriates me, because I'm sitting there, I'm reading this, and then what do we have on college campuses? Is the soft bigotry of low expectations that we can't expect Americans of people of color, because they're being held back by people like me. It's insane. Everybody knows it, and yet we're allowing this to permeate and make white people feel guilty, and essentially other people of color to say, I can't do anything in America because I don't even know what it's because. It's freaking evil stuff. Evil stuff. And I sit there and I read stories like this, and I say, I don't know. I sit there, how can you sit and hate on America when every other place is worse? It's insane to me. It's insane. And I don't understand. It breaks my heart, because it's such a wonderful country, and it's not perfect. Well, hell, imagine that, man. Imagine a human place is not perfect. Welcome to the freaking world of human beings, for heaven's sake. And I still, to this day, I am sympathetic to freaking what we put Black veterans in World War II and before through. It kills me inside how badly we mistreated these people. And I'm not want to say just get over it. I want to say, I don't know what it takes to make good to those people, but I'm sick of being freaking told you got white privilege, or you should have some guilt, or because I have none. I got no guilt whatsoever. I feel bad for the people of the people who serve this country in the most patriotic way, who got discriminated against horribly, if not actually beaten down or actually murdered. That's freaking evil crap. That's not happening today. It's just not. And I wish there could be some meeting of the minds where it says, I don't know what it's going to be, because what's happening now is the left, they want revenge is what it is. They don't want, basically not truth. Nelson Mandela he did some bad stuff, but ultimately they don't want to be Nelson Mandela. They want to be Bolsheviks. They want to be Che Guevara. And this is Antifa and a lot of the people on the left. I mean, literally, because they I was trying to get an interview with this guy who wrote the book on the USFL, and he won't talk to me because I like Trump. He literally thinks I'm an evil man because I like Trump. And I got a sneaky suspicion he would not mind if many of us just fell over and died, because they hate us, man. And so I'm not sure how you meet halfway with people who despise you. It's a challenge for us who are Christians, because we forgive, we pray for them, at the end of the day, though, we still got to make sure we're here, right? And if and these people a lot of these people hate us. They hate us. And I'm sitting there thinking, how does a man of Jesus negotiate in a meaningful way with people who literally hate you because of your skin? I don't know. I don't know how you do that. And I look at, American blacks who I get who I got nothing but the incredible respect and gratitude for, still smiling, even though they dealt with the people who hated them and wanted them dead. How do you have that kind of ability to deal with people who hate you and want you dead and smile and be brothers towards? I don't know. I think it's amazing to me. And that's why I'm so sympathetic towards making right what was wrong. But at some point, you got to stop this freaking, white people are holding you back, or white people are evil, or white privilege, because it's such a turnoff. It's such a turnoff, and it doesn't build bridges. And there are many people on that side. It's mostly white people on the left, by the way, who literally want revenge. I don't know what they want revenge for, but they want to put you up against the wall and put a bullet in your head. And they are becoming more and more loud and prominent on college campuses, which is, as we've seen now, which will spill out into the mainstream. And that's we saw what happened with the insanity of the transgender stuff. We saw what happened with the insanity of white fragility, white privilege, all that, how it's on mainstream now. The sanity of the Jacob Blake guy, that guy's not a good guy. We saw this, but now it's mainstream. And now, so the next mainstream thing is we want revenge. And that's the thing that concerns me most, because you're not going to get it. I'm just telling you right now, it's not going to happen. And I don't know. I think, anyway, I read a story like this guy and I said, that's real trauma right there. And yet this guy is doing good things, even though he really had trauma to contend with. In America, you don't have that kind of trauma. I'm sorry. You just don't. There's no one who has that kind of trauma like this guy has. None. And all right, that's just my all right. So NBA Commissioner Silver announced a few days ago that BLM is coming off the courts and won't be on the uniforms next season. Yeah, I think they I could care less, Ray. And the funny thing is, they don't care about Black Lives Matter anymore. See, that's how it goes. We care about it now when everybody else cares, but next week we're going to sweep it under the rug. I mean, see, that's the thing. You never, ever, ever give an ounce to these libs. They're never happy. For a fact the libs are saying, "What do you mean we're not going to have this? So now racism is solved?" No, we're just doing other things. So it's like you can't. You give an inch, they take a mile. We on the right have learned that many moons ago. We have learned that many moons ago by watching George W. Bush be a freaking, looking like he's playing Muhammad Ali on the rope-a-dope. And it turns out, though, he didn't have the fight back that Muhammad Ali had. By the way, Muhammad Ali, Trump supporter. And so we knew for a fact that, or we saw George Bush just get, hammered and hammered, the rope-a-dope, without the float like a butterfly and sting like a bee comeback of a Muhammad Ali. And we recognized, we gave them, the ability to hammer us left and right, and we got nothing in return. Australia is a freaking basket case. Crazy, man. All right. Tina, there is no alternative. All right. So, you see the NBA just got, 70%. Now, I will say the NHL is 60% down. Well, part of the reason the NHL is 60% down because they kneeled as well. They kneeled. And I said, after kneeling, I'm done. I didn't watch any hockey at all. I mean, even I didn't watch any Bruins at all. And you know how much of a Bruins fans I am. But they kneeled. No. And they kneeled for Jacob Blake. Whatever happened to respecting black women? Yeah, friggin' scumbag. That guy. Yeah. Does everyone have millions coming in inheritance? Nope. Nope. Harry, you can't say boomers are selfish. They'll sooner give their fortunes to ASPCA. I think there's something to that, but let's not paint with broad brush, man. everyone's lived till they grew up and start paying taxes. Could people consider the Social Security as an invisible tips bond in their portfolio? Yeah, exactly. All right, let's see. All right, so it's blame boomers, big tech, and the media. Secularism is destroying America. If you had 200,000 liquid to invest, would you invest in American funds or Vanguard? Well, I'm assuming you're in American funds now, or else you wouldn't be asking that. So my assumption is that you've already paid the 4.5% or 5.5% or 2.5% commission. So if it's already been paid and you're already in American funds, just stick it, man. Stick with American funds. If you haven't, I go Vanguard for sure. Yeah, the portfolio visualizer. I think you emailed me that, Mark. It's a great tool. I need to use that more, actually. I always forget. VTI for Roth and VTI for tax account. Yes, sir. In more civilized times, we did not discuss politics and religion at work. I don't know that to be true. Troy, what if any of the negatives of reverse mortgage? What happens if you need assisted living? Who would pay for that? Yeah, well, the thing about the reverse mortgage is they're not borrowing 100% of your home, at least on the front end. Theoretically, you could. You could have no equity left. That's in theory. It's not likely to happen, but it could. And then that's the issue. If you need assisted living, how are you going to pay for it? You have to think about that. That's for sure. The likelihood of you needed assisted living is not high, but you would have to pay for it because your house could be no equity in there. But remember, you'll never owe more than what your house is worth. It's a non-recourse loan, so it'll always be worth. You'll never have an outstanding balance. Let's put it that way. You cannot joke at work nowadays. You'll get fired for being racist, sexist, bigot, Trump. Exactly, man. It's crazy. That's why you gotta go get your own job, man. Make sure you buy a used Tesla or a Toyota. Don't waste money on a new car. A fine American brand is a worldwide leader in EVs and battery tech. Imagine you talk about Tesla. Ron Barron says Tesla will be a $2 trillion market cap company. We should be proud of Elon. All right. Better not tweet like Kaylee. Her Twit account just got locked. Never hire smart guys, particularly MBAs. Yeah. All right. My new Roth conversion strategy. I'm single. Only convert during market dips or crashes and put Roth in the same funds and let it recover there. But remember, Jill, if you got $100,000 now, in 10 years, it's probably $200,000. That 10 years also assumes there'll be some declines, if that makes sense. So the drawback is only convert when it's down. Well, it could go from 110 to 140. Now it's down to 110. So you're still ahead of where you were initially, if that makes sense. So I think you should have a more, what's it called? Mechanized, I don't know if that's the right word, structured, where you're doing some Roth conversions each year. And then on top of that, the market falls 20%, add to it. Because remember, the market goes up from 100 to 140. It goes down, say 20%. So now we're down from 140 minus 20%. We're down to 112. So you're still 112,000 above where you were. And now you're converting, you're converting more taxes. So if you just would have converted at 100, you'd still be better off. So that's what I would do. As a Sharpe ratio, the problem with Sharpe ratios, they're looking at risk. But hey, everyone's asking for you. Come here. Pablo, the like button. No, come here. He doesn't want to come here. Sharpe ratio, was it your standard deviation by your, what is it? I can't remember the Sharpe ratio. Is it your standard deviation by your alpha? No. The Sharpe ratio of 1, it gives you your standard deviation. I can't remember how it figures out. I just, at the end of the day, yes, a Sharpe ratio of 1 theoretically means you're getting more return for the amount of risk you're taking. I challenge that because it's all based on historical stuff, and it's true until it's not. Remember GE, all right? Please remember to hit the like button if you're gaining value from this evening's conversation. Yeah. Do a Zoom chat next time with everyone would be fun. Ugh, you think? I don't know, man. Maybe PE's outdated. Homeowner, you say, sure, the mortgage is paid up, but then where do I put the dang thing if I don't pay land taxes? Do I recommend 6 months of expenses in cash? I'd much rather, it depends. I mean, if you're still accumulating asset, yes. I don't have 6 months in cash. I'm just telling you right now. If you're in retirement, no, I recommend 4 years of cash for sure. Oh yeah, there's too much. Yeah, Mary, there's too much background noise. Something was happening on my phone when I'm driving now, where it makes this rattling. I got to figure that out. There's too much background noise, so that's I might have to put the mic on and while I'm doing it, as opposed to which I can do. Actually, I should do that now I think about it. Oh yeah, I should do that. That might be better. Should you rather save money on the side of pay off mortgage at one time instead of gradually paying it down? Uh, that's a tough one, man. That's what I am doing. That's what I'm doing. Freak 82. I'm putting it into my M1 account as opposed to gradually paying it down. I want to build up my liquidity, if that makes sense. I mean, it's nice to have liquidity. I don't know what else. And when I say liquidity, for me, is all VTI. So I got VTI, VDIGX, and VTV. But the only thing I'm adding to is my VTI. And so that's my cash. That's my emergency account. That's everything. Everyone, that's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy until if I need the money, it sucks, but I'll be there. Now, with that said, I also have a home equity line of credit. So if the market tanks 40% and I need to get a new roof, I can always borrow from my home equity line as opposed to pulling the cash out of my account that's down 40%. Yeah, I would rather have you have cash on the side. That's literally the way I look at it. I don't know what your situation is, but I like cash on the side. Yeah, Gates was on CNBC shilling for Fauci. Yeah, 80% of the people in studies say they always wear a mask and still got COVID. I still wear my mask while in public establishments. Well, I mean, you got to wear your mask in public establishments, so I do too. Um, I mean, I do. I leave it under my nose as my statement. I have my 1984 mask on today, but it's a thick, and I can't breathe crap through that mask, dudes. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a wealth and infectious disease expert. Is that what you're saying about me? I never said I was a wealth expert. Uh, Governor Gruesome wants you to put your mask on back between bites. Yeah, I saw that. Freaking idiot. Governor Gruesome. All right, nothing to do with. Let's see here. Ford is looking more and more for retirement. Had stayed in New Jersey. Let's see. If I have 80K in AGI with dividends, in addition to the 80K be taxable of adjusted gross income. Well, I assume you're married, so no, it depends on how much your dividends are. So if your dividends put you over, now 80 is AGI. Your taxable income, if you're married, is 56,000. So you got lots of wiggle room there, man. You got basically $25,000 of dividends before you're in the 12% tax bracket. So to answer your question, it depends. I don't know the specifics, but you got a lot of wiggle room. Remember, AGI is not taxable income. Taxable income is not AGI. Your tax bracket is your taxable income. That's after you take your deduction, standard deduction, or me, I get big fat mortgage interest. We do give a little bit. We don't tithe. We need to get back to tithing. Yeah, I need to do that. Scary. It's scary because it's you always want to pay God your first fruits. Now, God doesn't need your money, but man, it's just showing you that you have confidence that He's going to take care of you. It's tough to tithe, man. I'm not going to lie to you, especially when you start making some money, especially when you never had money. You're like, but I mean, it's just a faith thing. And the stories are immense about people who do that, how just the bounty of God's will shines on those who give. To whom much is given, much is expected. Anyway, so if you're tithing, you can write that off as long as it's above your standard deduction. So for me, with 4 kids, some charitable contributions, and some a big fat mortgage, we are above and beyond standard deduction. So our AGI at 80,000 of AGI, let's just use that for an example. Let's say 35,000 of deductions. My taxable income is only 45,000, which means I have 35,000 of dividends, qualified dividends, before I have to pay tax on them. Raphael, okay. The Donald Trump, are you better off doing a 401k and put the tax savings difference in a Roth, or just doing Roth 401? I just do the Roth 401k. Of course, Sol is a legend. He's studying under Friedman. Yep. Reverse mortgage is my lifeline. If stocks produce less than 4% in the next 20 years, yeah, I agree with that. What portion of savings should go into a taxable Roth accounts? I mean, I don't know how old you are, David, but I mean, I would do everything in my Roth. I can't. I make too much money, but I have everything in a taxable account. But if I didn't make this, I'd do everything into a Roth, and then anything left over, I put to a taxable account for sure. Hey, John, when you say we mistreated them, to whom are you referring to? I bet you and I and plenty of others had nothing to do with any of it. Yeah, I know, but you know what I'm saying, John. I mean, I get what you're saying. I'm saying whites mistreated blacks without question. I don't think that's deniable. I hear many whites try to say they were, Irish got mistreated by the WASP and stuff. Not to the same extent. Italians, not to the same extent as blacks. I'm just sorry, it's not. I hate that too, where people say, no Irish need apply. It's called Nina. No, and I said, okay, you got a couple of signs. Yes, Irish Catholics were treated badly. There was a Blaine Amendment in Maine, which was discriminatory against Irish Catholics. This is a fact. The WASP did not like Catholics. At the end of the day, we weren't chattel slaves. We just weren't. We weren't. We had the right ultimately to vote, to own land, to become cops and all that. And when I say we, it's white people. I mean, I don't want to shy away from that. And I don't want to throw like, we were mistreated too, because I hate that. I hate it. This is the whole thing why I hate the whole people of color thing. I'm sorry. You weren't mistreated, not you, John, but if you're a people of color, you were not subject to the same issues that American blacks or American Indians were. You just weren't. I'm tired of, I'm a person of color. Oh yeah. I'm a second generation Taiwanese. You're not a freaking, I mean, you might be a person of color, but you have no, you got no, ability to claim victimhood. You don't. I'm a second generation Chilean. You got nothing, man. You can't claim victimhood in any. I'm a first generation Mexican immigrant. Nah, I don't give a crap. You got no claim. The only people who have a claim on America, in my opinion, was American blacks. Not even African blacks, American blacks and American Indians. Everybody else, no. I'm sorry. You're just like us. You came here. No, you don't have any claim on that. You can say Japanese internments. Okay, well, that's a small group of people. That's just not that big of a deal. It is a big deal to them. I get it. That's not big fat nothing burger. If you're Korean, you don't get Japanese internment camp privileges, if that makes sense. I hate it. I hate this whole people of color thing. That's why I say to black people, why are you letting these people throw in with you? It's nuts. BIPOC. I mean, it's just insane. I know because there is a power grab. I get that, but I say, man, you're diluting the righteousness you have by allowing people who aren't victims, but they're just claiming victim status to take some of your benefits, man. It's just nuts. And I don't know why that. I mean, I know why. It's a political thing for sure. And that's why Black Lives Matter is such a joke. They don't care about black people. They care about Marxism. That's it. Marxism. They don't care. They just want to freaking take over, Bolshevik take over America. That's all there is to it. And seeing these corporations still to this day, I'm like, dude, have you not? I mean, what is it with these, people in the C-suites? Are they just so scared of the pitchforks? It's the weirdest thing to me. I'm sitting there thinking, have you just looked around a little bit? I just read some of the literature of these people. Antifa, Black Lives Matter. They're tied at the hip and they're crazy. And yet some of these guys are, oh, wait. Oh, whew. So I thought you guys keep talking about Thomas Sowell. He didn't die, did you? Wait a second. Oh yeah, no, dude, Thomas Sowell, hell, I'm HB. If I can find my Thomas Sowell book, I got many Thomas Sowell books up here, and I got one he signed to me because I said to Thomas Sowell, I wrote him a letter, a real live letter, probably 20 years or so ago. I said, Dr. Sowell, I'm a white guy. I'm sick of all this racial crap. I'm sick of everyone saying white guys are all the problems. How did you, as a guy growing up in Harlem in the 40s, which was discrimination was through the roof, how did you maintain a dignity not to get suckered into this racial animosity stuff? And he sent me a signed book, his Man of Letters book. Great. I love Thomas Sowell because I think it's easy to get sucked into the animosity based on skin color. And you don't. You say, I'm not going to do that. And that's one of the best things about loving Jesus is if you have a true relationship with Jesus, you can't hate people based on skin. I mean, you can't hate people at all, but you certainly can't hate people based on skin because Jesus died for us all, every single one, black, white, pink, yellow, green. He died for us all. And because of that, if you're going to be of Jesus, you have to be of Jesus for everybody. Now, you're going to get angry, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to get mad, you're going to make mistakes. The one thing you can't be is a racist. It can't be Christian and racist. You can't. And Christians who are racist, and that's both sides, by the way, that's both sides, because there's plenty of black racists too. Trust me, there are. But there's plenty of racists of all races and ethnicities and all things. And, you know, there's lots of people racist. It's the easiest thing to be. Hate on other people because they look different. Stupid. And you can't be a Christian and be like that. That's against the law. Anyway, so Thomas Sowell sent me that 20 years ago. It signed in a book for free. It's awesome. And it's back there someplace. Actually, I think I put it to my wife. I think she's reading it because we love Sowell. He's a man. I wish we'd look at Thomas Sowell more than just a black economist, though, because from an economics perspective, that guy's he's not just one of the best black economists. He's one of the best economists, without question. In fact, Sowell was the one who said where the economics system went awry when he fell under the spell of Paul Samuelson at MIT and all this econometrics crap, where we said we had physics envy in economics, where we said we got to be a hard science. We don't want to be a soft science like the psychology. We want to be a hard science like physics and pretend like we're mathematicians and stuff. And Edison, my man Michael Edison, talks about that, where some of the crap math and financial planning, just horrible math and stuff, and just bad. And look, it's beyond my pay grade, way above my head. But Sowell said the same thing. Is like, look, the minute we went to become econometrics as opposed to more of the older school of Ludwig von Mises, the road to serfdom. Road to serfdom. I can't believe I can. I'm thinking Henry Hazlitt, but it's not Henry Hazlitt who wrote the Road to Serfdom. It's not Murray Rothbard. It's someone tell me who that was. I cannot believe I'm not remembering who wrote. Road to Serfdom. I see his face. Yeah, exactly. Ray. What, Ray? Why they got you hiding in here? For some reason they got Ray. I have to unmute Ray. Hey, hi. Jeez Louise. Yes, thank you. Yeah, now I gotta. All right. So Samuelson, Ray. Samuelson said that the Soviet Union was going to beat the U.S. economy, not just in 1973, Ray, in 1989. 1989, he said that. On top of that, one of my clients is a very well-known physicist. I mean, I wouldn't say he's well-known amongst us regular Joe Schmoes, but just put it this way, he's a very prominent physicist, MIT, and he took a Samuelson class in math. He said he didn't make any sense. So here's a physicist, probably, I don't want to say much more. But anyway, he says, I went to a Samuelson class and I was like, huh? And he's like, this doesn't make any sense. He had all these numbers, all these charts, all these graphs and all that. And he said, it was, I'm putting words in his mouth, poppycock. He didn't say that, but that's the insinuation is like, this is just this made up crap. Because the economics department has a physics envy. We want to be a hard science. And as such, we throw these numbers in econometrics and we turn off people who should be economists, but because they're not experts in Gaussian freaking standard statistics, they'll never get a job. And so then they have to go to philosophy, and no one cares about philosophy. They're sad, man. If I was only, it's oh man, one book by Sowell. Hold on, I'm looking. Oh, the only one I got here, Carol, is black rednecks and white liberals. The only one I got down here. I get one of these days. I got to get all my. I got tons of books up in the attic. I would actually read. I think it's Race and Economy by Thomas Sowell. Race and Economy. He talks about. In fact, he's got this whole thing on Irish immigration. It's insane. It's let's actually read. Let's look at. Yeah, let's hold on a second. I want to. Oh, I'm going to share. Let me bear with me just a second. I want to. Let's go to. Oops. While we're yapping, let's go to Amazon. All right, here we go. Cool. So let's go to share screen. And I want to go to Amazon. Yeah, I think that's right there. All right. So let's go to Thomas Sowell. Is it Race and Economics? He did something incredible on Irish immigration. But I would tell you, Carol, if you're going to read one economics book first and foremost, I would not start. He's got so many. Hold on a second. Intellectuals in Society. And it wasn't Race and Culture. I got this book up there. Oh, he also talks about late talking children. Very interesting, because one of his kids was a late talking child and really worried him. And I forgot what late talking children right there. Very interesting. Migration and Culture. That's a right there. It's fantastic. Huge. Just I mean, you'd hard to go wrong with any of these guys. He's such just a huge writer. Race and Economics right there. That's it. I love it. But if I'm going to start with one economics book, let me just share with you real quick. Let's go back to, I'm going here. Henry Hazlitt's. This is the book you need to read. Economics One Lesson. Get this book. Get it now. Right here. Economics One Lesson. Everyone needs to read this book. The shortest and surest way to understand basic economics. That I cannot stress enough how important this book was to me. Hazlitt is the man of all men, and you need to understand. You need to read this book for sure. That will get you thinking differently. Is Henry Hazlitt? There's just no other way around that. Just while we're talking, one of my other favorite economists is Bastiat, Frederick Bastiat. The Law right here. Anything on Frederick Bastiat, he's an old French guy. Now, he talks about trade, and I'm on the popular side of trade. I don't think free trade there is no free trade. So a lot of people say, you believe in, I thought you're a libertarian and, you don't listen to Bastiat when it comes to trade. Free trade, there is no such thing. The whole issue that that Trump is starting a trade war is nuts. There is a trade war. Trump is just finally engaging in it. So they'll talk about Frederick Bastiat, The Law, which is a wonderful book, easy book to read. In fact, I have this little pamphlet, but awful hard to go wrong with Bastiat stuff. But I'm just telling you right now, you're going to read it, and you're like, yeah, it makes sense. We should follow the model. Ultimately, become Austrian economics. But the drawback is that it does make sense, except we're the only people playing by the rules. No one else is playing by the rules. So as long as we don't play if we play by the rules and everyone else doesn't, we're going to be losing. At some point, if there's a war engaged, a Cold War, we got to engage. Basic economics, also, absolutely. Yep. I without question. I've always been interested in the cultural dynamics of things. Like, why do Scots-Irish are so rebellious? You see what I'm saying? That we have in America. Now, obviously, Scotland and Ireland is very, very healed now, if that makes sense. So it's like we got their best and brightest and the rebellious. and left behind in the old country. People are just, I guess, accustomed to taking orders, because Scotland is left wing as all can be, and Ireland is. I mean, it's a statist country like you wouldn't believe, and yet the Scott Irish here that sell the Shenandoah Valley, West Virginia, the Appalachian Trail and stuff are some of the biggest ass kickers you've ever seen, and that's some of my heritage. And it's just interesting, like why are those guys so independent and rednecks? You know what I'm saying? And black rednecks, and he talks about black rednecks and white liberals, but still, it's like, why did those guys settle Shenandoah Valley, settle Western North Carolina, the Scots Irish, and just they're completely unique from your Irish Catholics, and just completely unique from other groups of people. I find it incredibly interesting. James, the guy who's Secretary of Defense, and he was senator for one term in Virginia. Jim Webb had written a book on Scots Irish, very, very interesting as well. And if you have any kind of ancestry of Scott Irish, which I do, Scanlon, you'd find that very informative. But you'd find pride in it. You'd find pride in it. You say, oh man, hey, it's look, I don't say my people did this, so that's why I'm so proud. I don't care about that. But there is something proudful of knowing that a group of people, came into America and were poor, weren't treated well, and just did amazing things. It's great, and I couldn't be happier and couldn't be more proud of those people. But I'm also proud of Black people who were able to overcome inherent discriminatory oppression and still love the country. So I'm proud because I'm an American, and America is the beacon of hope. And people who overcome issues of all races and ethnicities, I'm freaking all proud of them, because it helps America 100%. 100%. All the stuff people have been through negative in America, the fact that America allows that to overcome and not be in some caste system or something like that, it's phenomenal to me. Not perfect. No other person is. I love it. But anyway, discrimination. Yes, look, everyone's saying about Tom Sowell is just as all. Hey, Tom Major. I haven't seen you here, man. All right. I'm going to get out of here, my friends. Much obliged here. Yeah, they don't even, in economics, they don't teach. They teach the Phillips curve. They teach Samuelson, modern monetary theory, Marxism. Keynes, they're still teaching Keynes. It's nuts. All right, my friends, we'll cut out for the night. Thanks for the stuff on Thomas Sowell. I love that man. He's like 92. So when I saw you guys talk about it, it's like, oh no, because I was on a live stream when we found out the RBG died. And I was like, man, we start talking about people, that means they're running, for some reason, they're in the news. So